Hello book lovers, and welcome back or welcome to Nat Cat's Bookish Cafe. Today we are going to take a look at my winter TBR. Alright guys, I might not be even close to done with fall. However, I do my winter TBR for the months of December, January, and February. So it is time for another seasonal TBR. That being said, I think I say this pretty much every year. In winter, I don't really lean towards specific genres as much. There are very few seasons in which I do so. Fall might be the only one where I get a little bit more into that spooky season vibe, but otherwise I read relatively diversely throughout the year, and winter is no exception to that. So that being said, I kind of took a look at my shelves to see what I was really in the mood for. There are definitely a few in here that I think would be great to read during the cold winter season, but there are just a few priority reads in here as well. I will say it was very hard for me to pick books because I feel like I've been a little bit more of a mood reader lately, which I'm not loving, but that also makes it a little harder for me to gauge what I'm going to be in the mood for in the upcoming months. So fingers crossed, I did a good job with this list. Right now, I'm eager to pick up all of these books, but with the way my brain has been working, that could change next week for all I know. So without further ado, I do have 6 books on this list, so let's jump into the first one. Starting off with one that definitely belongs in the more wintry season, we have Nightmare Before Christmas by Sarah Rosh, and this is a male-male romance that follows the Prince of Christmas as well as the Prince of Halloween. I believe they are both princes of their respective, I don't know if they're kingdoms or exactly how this works, but I have heard relatively good things about the story. I am always a fan of a queer romance, and I do love me a little bit of a rivals to lovers situation, and this is definitely giving those vibes. It seems like the main plot of the story is that our Prince of Christmas here is to marry the Princess of Easter, who's his best friend. However, he doesn't love her in a romantic sense, and in fact his brother does, so he's not super happy with this arranged marriage. Things get a little bit more complicated when this guy shows up to claim the princess's hand in marriage and kind of challenges him to some sort of competition. And my guess is that while they are competing for this hand of the Easter princess, which I'm assuming neither of them actually really wants, which kind of sucks for her, you know, using her like that. But I'm assuming they're gonna grow closer and closer as they compete. So I am excited to go ahead and check this out. It is definitely giving those Christmassy vibes. I was actually kind of hoping to read it in November because it's between Halloween and Christmas, but I might try to get to it in December. I do have specific plans for December that this book doesn't exactly fit, so it might end up being more of a January read, but I do know I want to get around to it during the holiday season. Up next, another book that is definitely giving winter vibes, and that is going to be The Fox Wife by Youngsi Chu. I have read a book by this author. In fact, I want to say it was last December, or maybe it was the December before. I have literally no concept of time, but I read her story, The Ghost Bride, and absolutely loved it. It definitely gave me holiday vibes, not Christmassy vibes, but holiday vibes. I don't really know how else to explain it. It also very much had like Studio Ghibli vibes, so I am eager to jump into some more work of hers. This is a little bit outside of my comfort zone when it comes to genres because they are really historical with a slight fantastical aspect. In this one, we seem to be following 2 to 3 characters. The first character is is a detective, and it seems a woman shows up dead, and people suspect that she was killed by a fox spirit. And he has always been really interested in fox spirits, but has never come across one. So he kind of takes this opportunity to investigate this death in hopes of coming across a fox spirit. On the other hand, we are following a fox spirit whose child has been lost. And I'm not 100% sure if the child is missing or has passed away. It does state that she is hunting down a murderer, which makes me think that potentially someone killed her child and she is seeking revenge for that. And as she is crossing the land, hunting this murderer, this detective is hunting her as well. On top of that, the synopsis talks about a family that works within the medical world, pharmaceutical world, in a historical sense, more apothecary than like evil pharmaceutical corporation vibes. And they have a curse on them where their eldest son always dies before their 24th birthday. And one day, a new servant comes to their home and they can't really decide if she has brought luck or disaster to their family. So it looks like we're going to be following a few different plot lines in here. This cover, you know, her walking through the snow is definitely giving winter vibes. I know I like the author's writing and the vibes of her stories, so I am hoping to get to it this winter season. The third book and the final one that I think might have slight winter vibes is going to be We Used to Live Here by Marcus Cleaver. I am pretty sure that that is snow on the cover of the roof. I don't know if I've seen many white roofs. So I'm hoping that it's kind of at least set in the winter, and I feel like I heard there was some sort of storm within this book as well. This is, I believe, a horror story, and we are following this couple, and they have moved into a new home. They are a sapphic couple, and one day one of them is home alone, and this man and his family shows up, and he says, I used to live here. I'd like to show my family around the house. And, you know, her being the people pleaser that she is, she reluctantly agrees. And then it seems like they might have some trouble making the family leave, or while the family is there, really weird things happen. I have heard primarily good things about this book, so I am very eager to finally get to it to see if it is worth all the hype it has gotten. Book number 4 is on here because I keep meaning to put it on a TBR and then overlooking it for other things, or just not finding the room to place it on my TBR, and that is going to be The Husky and His White Cat Jizun. And this is a Donmi novel. The only Donmi novels that I've ever read are behind me right here, and that is Heaven's Official Blessing, and I'm looking to get into my next series, and this is the one that I have decided on because I have heard a lot of good things about this one. So in this one, we seem to be following a prince who had brutally made his way to the throne. However, he ends up dying and being reborn as himself, as a young man, and he kind of sees this as an opportunity to relive his life and kind of avoid mistakes that he has made. Now, this doesn't mean that he seems to be out here trying to be a better person. If anything, he's already like, I know who will betray me, I know who I need to take out, and one of them seems to be a teacher of his that he used to have, and this, I believe, eventually becomes a bit of a romance between the two of them. Donmi novels definitely are, at least a lot of them seem to be plot forward, world building forward, and the romance is more of a subplot. But this one, I believe it is going to be a bigger part of the story than Heaven's Official Blessing. I also heard that this one is a little bit spicier than Heaven Official Blessing, which Heaven Official Blessing is definitely very mild. And the few scenes that there are definitely more like behind closed doors, more giving like vibes where you're like, we know you're doing things, but we don't know what exactly. And this one seems like it's going to be a little bit more open door. So I'm excited to go ahead and check it out. With these books, they are very long. This series, I'm sure there's at least 8 volumes in this one, so I really don't know too much about this long series going into it, but I am all the same very eager. The final 2 books actually have a similar vibe going for them, and that is kind of historical mystery. I feel like I've really gotten into historical mystery. It's something that really works for me, which is surprising because usually I say I'm not a big fan of mystery or historical. So I guess once you put them together, it just works for me. So this first one definitely seems to have more of a paranormal aspect to it than really a mystery, but it might have some like thrillery vibes, and that is going to be All of Us Murderers by K.G. Charles. This story seems to be a little bit gothic novel inspired, maybe giving a little bit of Knives Out or like The Last of Us. Is that what it's called? What's her name? Agatha Christie. Sorry, Agatha, your name just escaped me. But essentially, we are following this man who arrives at this Gothic manor that belonged to his wealthy family. And when he arrives, he comes across his brother, his cousin, and his ex-lover, all people that he does not want to see again. And then the master of the house lets them know that whoever wins the hand of his daughter is going to be the one who inherits his fortune. Now, I'm hoping that none of these people are like actually related to the master of the house, because that would be kind of incestuous. But our character decides he wants nothing to do with this. He doesn't want the fortune. He doesn't want anything to do with his family, and he tries to leave. However, there is some sort of barrier that is keeping him from leaving. There's something weird with the house. There's something watching them, and things escalate as people become more desperate and more paranoid, and he finds the only person he can rely on really is his ex-lover. So I am very excited to go ahead and check this out. It sounds like it's going to be a real fun time. And the final book on this list is going to be The Lavender House by Lev A.C. Rosen. I don't know if you pronounce that A.C. or AC. That would be weird. I'm going to say Lev A.C. Rosen. And this is a historical mystery story more so than the other book I just talked about. Essentially, we are following a queer detective in 1950s. Yes. He gets put on the case of a woman who has passed away mysteriously. She was the matron to the Lavender House. The Lavender House belongs to a family that earned their fortune in soap making, and the Lavender House is also a safe space for queer people where they can be very open and they don't have to hide themselves. However, due to this, they don't really allow outsiders into their space. And so when her death occurs and is mysterious, they start to worry that someone within their home is the one who murdered her. And so he is there to investigate. And I believe that while he is there, he, finds a bit of a community and space for himself as a closeted queer person in a time in history where it's not okay to be queer. So this, I do believe, is a series, at the very least a trilogy, where we continue to follow this detective. And I do like serialized mystery novels, so I'm hoping that this will be a good time. All right, guys, here are the 6 books that I am hoping to get to in the winter months. Let me know if you have read any of these and what you thought of them. I would also love to know what books you are hoping to read here in the winter months. Is there any sort of genre or trope that you really like to read around this time of year? As always, guys, thank you so much for supporting my channel by watching my videos, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!